And given the question that I'm seeing, and thank you all of those who've put in questions overall. I'm seeing a lot of good work being put in by many of you. That's, I think, for me, really encouraging when I see the kind of efforts that you guys have put in overall. And then the other thing that I really see is that it's not just the good work; it's the questions are very, very relevant. The questions make sense with regards to the uncertainties that you guys face while we're preparing, and so we will make sure that many of those questions get addressed. Now, it so happens that we've for this particular session we had upwards of 24 questions, and so it's very difficult to address each one of those questions. But what our goal would be to make sure that we address enough questions in each category so that you guys get good answers to your questions. So either directly, which means through the question that we address, if we address your question, you're going to get a good answer, or a proxy where we take someone's question and it also addresses your question. And if it so happens that your question is not answered, do let us know. Post that either via email or through instant message. And Payal, if you can upload the presentation, please, while I'm saying that. I forgot to upload our presentation for this session. That'd be great. It's in the same folder, Payal. So then in that case, we will make sure that we answer your question. But again, my contention is that most of your questions will be addressed as we go through this. Again, we want this session to be extremely interactive. Now we will talk to a presentation and we will have a chat pod open all the time. And then towards the end, I'll, Payal and I would also invite you guys to speak. But then just in the interest of time, we want to make sure that we do this towards the end and not right away. Okay. While Payal does that, I'm going to hide these pods over here. And thank you for putting those answers in. They do tell us who you are. They do tell us essentially which test you're taking and so on and so forth. So yeah. Payal, should I upload it?
It's happening now. Yeah.
So we will.
It's happening now.
It's happening now. All right. Perfect. Sounds great. So we will go through this presentation in about another 5 to 7 seconds. But meanwhile, while we do that, let's get the chat pod on, and I want to just understand how many of you were in the session last week as well. We had a coffee session last week on cementing, and then just in general. It's a good opportunity for you to say hello to other members of the e-GMAT team as well as to fellow GMAT test takers as well. So we have Akash, we have Gagan, we have Sudhir.
So Rajat, the presentation is ready. So I can hear my voice again through your end, Rajat.
I can hear my voice again through your end.
Is that happening for others as well?
I can't.
Is that happening for others as well?
Yeah.
Is Payal's voice echoing?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you using the right mic, Payal? Then you have to just reduce the gain at your end. Okay. Is my voice echoing?
No, yours is not. Yours is fine.
No.
Yours is fine.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, just reduce the gain at your end. Okay. That is probably the only thing.
I did that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, why don't you speak, Payal, and then let's see if there's an echo at your end. If there's an echo still.
So from you, so is your voice echoing? Is that what's going on?
So is your voice echoing? Is that what's going on?
No, is your voice echoing anymore?
It is, yeah. So I think what we'll have to do whenever I speak,
what we'll have to do whenever I speak, we'll have to.
Okay. There's also under the microphone the noise suppression option. Please make sure that it's checked.
It is checked.
If you look at that. Okay, let's get started with this. Okay, so I'm going to move the pods a bit so that we have a bit more space. I'm going to reduce our pod as well. Just position this so that we have enough space for the presentation part. And then, from time to time, what we're going to do is we're going to go into a screen share view so that we can make sure that we share your screen. So in general, we're going to focus on three things: motivation, study plan, and test readiness. So in terms of the order, we're going to talk with start with motivation, then go to study plan, and then go to test readiness. I think we've 2 to 3 queries in each of these buckets. And if your query is answered, that's wonderful. If it's not, then essentially, do write to us or connect with us. Our preferred mode would be either through email, or you can connect with us on Reddit, either with Payal or with me. Our not preferred mode, if you truly want a one-on-one session with us, only if necessary, is that you book one. Again, it's not cheap. Let me say that, but again, it's not our preferred mode overall. Okay, so in terms of agenda, we're going to actually go through overall. Our first query is, a student really said, hey, I have no idea of the timeline. SC cementing took way too long. CR cementing seems to be taking long, changing job commitments, and also pose challenge with the main issues. I'm not able to see an end date. Okay. This person has a 640 as a starting score, a 760. They wanted to take the test in 2 months. It's been 3. Okay, so the question is, how do I plan? What date should I book? Okay, anyone associates with this person? I mean, anyone who kind of has very similar questions? Okay, I see Roma is there. I faced this as well, but eventually took my time. Yes, Roma, you are right. You're about to take the test, right? If I understand, you have the test in about 5 days. Yeah. So we're going to talk about yours is going to be the last query for the day. It's a really important query, and I think it's a good query to end the entire session with. So we're going to talk about your stats, but yeah. So I want to just make sure you understand the process that you're going to go through. So just in terms of some data, I'm going to start with some data overall, and I think when you're studying for the GMAT, perceptions can be misleading in many ways. So what you see with this particular individual is that what this person has said is that it's been 3 months. It started at a 640. They want to get to a 760. Again, remember, 760 is 99th percentile. You want to be among the top 1 percentile of all test takers. That's one thing that you'd see me repeat again and again. And a lot of people, you know this in terms of what 760 represents, but what you don't know is that to be in the top 1 percentile, you've got to put in that commitment that requires or that demands that you go beyond your current, I won't say ability, but in terms of your persistence, you go beyond what you typically have been doing. And yes, you'll have problems in the way. Your work's going to come in the way. Your personal commitments are going to come in the way. And there, the default mode is going to be to really say, let's stop studying, because hey, this seems the most optional thing. And at that point, if you are mentally resilient, if you find that 1 hour, if you change that schedule, if you're dynamic in that way, then essentially you're going to succeed. What I'm going to demonstrate, we're going to have about 4 to 5 case studies. Most of you are intelligent enough. Your metrics tell us, but many of you, I think it's on that mental, being resolute mentally. That's where many of you lack, and which is why most of you don't succeed. Those who succeed because they are resolute. Those who don't succeed because they do well on the learning phase, but then when it comes to the real um, uh, cementing phase, they falter. And I'm going to show you some stats here. Okay, so many of you are in that top 10, top 5, top 1 percentile in most of the preparation, but there are key areas where you're not. So let's start with this particular student here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this particular student. Payal, can we get a share pod, please? I have a screen share pod here. I'm going to get that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this cover everything.
Do you want me to share the screen, Rajat?
No, you won't know what to share. Okay, so screen, let me just do that. Okay. Let me know when you guys start seeing, what are you guys seeing right now? Is it my email?
No, it's the smart sheet.
It's the smart sheet. Good. All right. Are you guys seeing Mixpanel right now?
Yes.
Okay. So let's kind of look at this particular student who had put in this query over here. And we're going to go towards the last 3 months in this case. And one of the first things that you observe is, yes, this person has been studying for 3 months, but then you can really see um, there have been gaps here. And I'm going to really look at all activities in this case. And so this particular person started studying sentence correction over here. You can see there are days when she studied a lot, and a lot of those are on the weekends, which makes sense. But then you see that there is this period from September 7th till September 17th where absolutely zero studying, and then she came in and she completed the sentence correction course. Okay, then after that she did start the CR course. Okay, and she did the CR course over here. Again, you can see there are good peaks here, but then there are days when she didn't do it. Now if I were to really do everything, what you would really see is it's just the person has attempted just these two courses. And overall, if we were to estimate the amount of time that this person took um, in terms of minutes, and I know this can be misleading, just purely in terms of time in minutes. Again, we are in the 6-month period. That's about 5,300 minutes or so. So that's less than 100 hours over 6 months. If I go 3 months, which is when they've been seriously studying, that number is still about 4,800 minutes, or so, about 80 hours, give or take, in this case. So it's not a whole lot of time. So that time input is really, really important. But then let's kind of look at the quality of study over here. I'm going to go in. Is my internet gone? Or can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it says this page is having a problem, obviously.
Yes, I know. That's a different thing. I think I have too many tabs open um, on my computer for some reason. Let's just remove these tabs here. So let's look at this particular student's account. Now, she's done SC. Let's see how well she's done SC. So completed the entire course. And one of the things that I want you to do is, so when you're in a particular course, if you want to see the quality of your attempts, you can really change the URL. And this is something that we were developing last year, which is an AI-based system, where we evaluate your attempts against attempts of other students who've done this. And when you go and just add this word journey in the entire URL, what you see is a grading of your activities. It compares you to how others have done. And just in general, if you are in the top 10 percentile of folks who finished this activity, then you get a grade A. If you are in the 11th to 51st percentile, then you get a grade B. And a grade A or a grade B, they have a very high correlation with the ability to do cementing well. When you get to a grade C, then you have an issue. Now, so that's at an activity level. But then what we did is we kind of compiled the entire courses into what we call as learning levels. And what you see over here is this individual has learning levels A across the board except this. So for me, this is a phenomenal performance with regards to that person studying in SC. So even though this person had a break in between, and that break, in my opinion, led to her getting a B in learning level 1. but as an individual, she's smart, she's diligent. When she's studying, she's doing a really good job. Now, this is she's primed to do well in cementing, and let's see how well she's done in cementing in this case. And this is where you see, you know, um, good attempts in cementing. There were times when she did really well, but then she went below the threshold as she got into regular timing. And this is where, when you see a problem for her, she's slightly slower. That's okay. She should have focused on being doing this in relaxed timing, making sure she gets the process right. On hard cementing, again, very similar journey. When the timing is slightly better, she gets really well. She does a really good job. And but then as soon as she sees timing constraints, she faces issues. Okay. Uh, and so if this happens with you, it's okay to take quizzes in relaxed time. Accuracy first, really important. Accuracy first, and then do an analysis of your quiz to really say where is it that you're taking longer, and then address what makes you take longer, what makes you do that back and forth. Because the only way you waste time, you take longer on a question, is if you do back and forth you do back and forth because something confuses you. So identify that. But if you need to take cementing and relaxed timing, take it, go above the threshold. And this person definitely can. Now I'm going to go to her score attempts in CR as well. And CR also, she's done really well, I believe, if memory serves me right. And you can really see phenomenal. I mean, 3A grades makes her in the top 5 percentile of all people who attempted this course. But then as we go towards cementing, she's not done cementing as of now. She's again failing in the process of cementing, and she's not attempted hard cementing. It's 24th right now, and she's kind of given up on this because she's not doing that overall. But she has the potential. Now, just coming back to this, is this person here? I'm gonna hide this. Is this person here?
I don't see the name Rajat here. Meg,
You don't
right?
see the name here. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you are someone who has very similar stats, uh, hidden magic features like this, we have a few of those. You will announce them, but this is something that we've started using frequently enough. So if you just use the word journey pile, if you can put one URL, then
Mm-hmm.
they can really do that. But we will try and enable this as soon as we are done with everything with the focus edition that we want to do. You would have seen a lot of these come in May had the focus edition not had the GMAT not dropped the focus edition on us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. So yeah, a lot of that kind of got stalled because of that. So coming back to this, I think if you are this particular student, diligent, be diligent. That's really important. Even please don't get a break in your studies while you're doing a section or subsection. So if you're doing SC, finish cementing, then you may take a break. That's okay. But in the middle of SC, don't take a break. Number one. Number two, while you're doing cementing, follow a very logical process of cementing. Towards the end, we're going to really talk about how do you go about doing cementing. What are the steps that you need to go through to be successful in cementing? But if you have to do it in relaxed timing, that's absolutely okay. Accuracy first, timing next. The third thing, while doing cementing, fill your error log, figure out which behavior, most likely with her stats, it's a behavior, not a conceptual issue that's causing her these issues. So which behavior is the most frequent in your error log? Fix that behavior while taking cementing quizzes. And again, when you're taking cementing quizzes, make sure that that's the only thing that you're doing. Okay, that's extremely important overall. And if you do that, then you're going to find that success with cementing happens a lot more quickly than otherwise. Okay. In the last 20 days, this person has put in just about 38 hours. That's, if you want to get to that 760, that's not enough time. You've got to put in, at least 50 hours in 20 days if you're on an accelerated time plan. That's something that you're going to need. Okay. If you're not, if you have 5 months, then that's okay, right? So that is the URL that you see. Payal has just posted this. You see the word journey in there. You plug in journey in any quant or verbal courses, you're going to see that. It's still not there in DI. It'll be there soon. Okay. Okay.
I think, Rajat, one point that I'd like to make over here is more people do better in learning phase, that is stage one, than in the cementing stage, that is stage two. And one of the reasons that I can think of is that in the learning stage one, things are laid out for you very clearly in the course. You have to go through these concept files, there is this practice quiz, then you have to go through the application files, then there's a practice quiz, right? And but when you come to cementing, a lot of the learning that needs to happen, that ability building that needs to happen, requires you to fill that error log and do that strategic review very diligently. And that is something which I I don't know how we can make that any more easy for you, because that's something that you have to do on your own, because the mistakes that you are doing, the review that you are doing of the solutions, you have to gather those mistakes, you have to figure out what in your thought process didn't work, and that leads to you enhancing those gaps or fixing those gaps. Okay, so a lot of the, yeah.
I think there's a part of it is what I'm. How many of you are afraid to fail? Simple question. How many of you are afraid of failure? You see a bad score that worries you. Okay. Okay, remember this. If you don't fail, let me be very, very clear. If you don't fail, then you will not get to 730, 740, 760, or if you're aiming for the focus edition, 685, 695 or so. Okay. You've got to understand failure. You've got to embrace failure. You've got to understand failure in the cementing phase. You are going to fail. I can tell you 760, 770, 780, 790 scorers fail in cementing. It's a natural part. For the first time, you are seeing mixed quizzes. For the first time, you are seeing quizzes that that essentially are 10 questions altogether, first medium and then hard. So you are 95% of you are going to fail. And it's that failure, that ability to evaluate why you failed and then correct the causality. Because if you've done the course well, so I'm going to just correct one part that Payal said, that she said more people do the course well. So a lot of people do the course well, but the kind of grades that this person had, she was in the top 10%. And what we really see, so yes, a lot of people do the course well, and fewer people actually do well in cementing. That part is spot on what Payal said. But then this journey view tells you have the meat there. And I can tell you there are people who would get B grades on the course, which again, as I said, is very good. But if they're mentally resolute, okay, they will do well in cementing, because after faltering, they'll come back stronger. And that is really important. Do you know why is it that people from IITs, NITs, really good commerce colleges, why do they do well on the GMAT, or rather any other competitive exams? What's the reason? A lot of us think the reason they do well is because of a really strong foundation, and they know the stuff, or they're intelligent. There's no such thing as intelligence as when we look at our metrics tells us. Because a lot of you are diligent. That resilience is what they have. Because these people, the reason they went to an IIT is because they failed early on, and they really said, let me figure out why I failed, and they corrected that rather than giving up. Because giving up is very easy. Let me be very clear. It's very easy. It's the easiest thing because you have the next course to go to.
Mm-hmm. I think Rajat, this reminds me of the experience that we had with our little one yesterday, or that you had with our little one yesterday, wherein she took 15 takes of that 20 of that 50
Oh,
second video, and she did not give up. And that's a characteristic which each one of us need to have, should have, in order if we are aiming for that
yeah. So
in
just to
750.
add more detail to it, she was to record a mime, and she was doing a mime for the first time, and I was doing a mime for the first time, and it took her 15 takes to get a 50-second mime right. And I
She's a
thought she
9 year
would give
old.
up. A 9-year-old, I thought she would give up after 5 or 6 takes, but then she was there, and it's that resilience that matters. A lot of people think knowing what you know now matters. Yes, that puts you at place A. Maybe someone's at place B below you. But if that person's more resilient, if that person wants to go to a higher place, that person will get there. So build that resilience. And I know it's hard because all of you are working professionals, but then you are the one who decided you want to get to a 740, you want to get to a top school. So you will have to actually, for lack of a better word, suffer through this. And it's because of this suffering, you will make 10x more money than people who are working with you right now. But that's your choice. So that suffering is also going to be yours.
Mhm.
Let
Rajat,
me
we
be
should
very
also
clear.
add a case question. There is a fear that prevents me from attempting cementing, fear of wasting important questions.
Okay. I think if you don't attempt cementing, you will have wasted those 40 hours that you spent on SC or CR, or those 27 hours that you spend on number properties. But those 10 hours you spend on cementing will ensure that those 40 hours will lead to that score that you want.
And that is the whole purpose behind cementing, behind us including these many questions. You have 4 or 5 times as many questions as you would need. Right? So we have taken care of that so that you don't have to worry about wasting important questions. There's nothing like wasting important questions here. That's the very purpose of those questions. Those questions exist there so that you can cement.
And let me just say this one thing, right? You look at anyone else's offering, Bookpay's architecture, Magoosh is offering, someone other test prep companies offering. They don't have a step called cementing, because building something that cementing requires that you have these additional questions, you actually have them categorized by difficulty, you have the right distribution. And the reason we build the tech, we created the question, we created the solutions, is to make sure that after studying you reach that ability before you move on to the next subsection. Because from a process of learning, that's the most efficient thing to do, regardless of whether you're studying for the GMAT, whether you're learning a sport, or whether essentially you're learning another skill, such as learning music or so please don't skip cementing. Okay, I think, Pal, let's go to the next one over here. Questions on this, and hopefully this is helping you guys. Let's look at student. This person has something that there's his question is, how do I stay motivated and not become hopeless during preparation? How not to overthink and leave studies? So I read this question, and I was like, man, this guy must be doing really really badly if the person has asked this question. And I I was shocked to see his metrics were excellent. His metrics were excellent. Gagan, your question would be answered in the third part, test readiness part. So, so again, let me just show you his metrics quickly, and then um, I want to just tell you, even while learning, you're gonna face you're gonna face one learning activity or the other when you're gonna go down. Just a couple, not a whole lot. And sometimes if you're not 100% focused, especially, that's going to happen, and that's okay as long as you revise right then and there. Akash, learning is it's a you again, when you are aiming for the top 2 top 3 percentile, right? You've got to give yourself um, that headroom to not worry about timing. The same way I really say, accuracy first, timing next. If you want to get to the top 2 percentile, make sure you focus on learning first. And when you focus on learning, you're going to find that the time to succeed goes down. The other piece that I want to tell you is, and this is something which is really important, learning is a non-linear process. Okay. You may spend the first 35 hours and don't not see a whole lot of improvement in intangible terms. But then 38, 39, 48 hours, you may suddenly see that because things start to come together. Now, this will only happen if you focus on learning. Okay. Dhruv wants to say something.
I think so. Rajat, there was the student who gave a very nice analogy, right, in terms of logarithmic curve, right? That's what she had experienced. The one who went from 730 to 760. What was that exactly?
Yeah, I forgot. That was um,
Yeah, that was one
that
of the
was
interviews that you did a couple of weeks back. I think.
yes,
Yeah.
couple of weeks back. That was a phenomenal translation of the process of learning. I'm going to find that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, that's phenomenal. Let's get the share pod once again.
That's interesting. What Dhruv has said, like the bamboo
Yes,
tree. For years
bamboo
it does
tree.
not
Yes,
even.
from the
Yeah,
last year it grows leaps and bounds. Yes, that is yeah,
absolutely. Spot on. Yeah.
spot on through. Excellent, excellent, excellent example. And that's there in nature all along. Uh, uh, let me be very clear. And the reason why that happens with the bamboo tree is because it focuses on building the right foundation. Okay, this particular student. Let me go here, screen. Uh, hmm. Okay, let me know when you guys start seeing the the critical reasoning dashboard.
Yes.
Okay, so again, I'm going to go back to journey and show this. I mean, you can see BABA. Again, is it as good as the other individuals? No, but it's really good still. Really good. And yes, there will be certain activities where you're not going to do as well. You can see grades B here. Um, and maybe there are going to be a couple of grade C's, probably in learning level 1. But it's just focus on learning. Here's a grade C, here's a grade C. Again, focus on learning. That's what's important, rather than worrying about essentially what am I doing wrong. And this particular person has come in multiple times, as you can really see. August 27, 2023, August 28th, and August 30th. Again, focus, be consistent. Take time out for your prep every day when you're doing a subsection, and as long as you can manage that part, two things: being diligent while learning, and taking time out continuously while you're doing a subsection. Between subsections you can take a couple of days off, but while doing a subsection, take time out. You're going to find learning is fun, learning is enjoyable, learning yields results. Okay, what I see over here, again, you can see this person has come back multiple times. Don't do that. Let this not be a situation where you have to do that. Okay, and his first attempts are really good.
Rajat, can you explain what do you mean by don't come back multiple times?
Well, the reason why this person has come back multiple times is because they got interrupted in their learning.
Okay.
So that's why. Okay. Let's go back, clear up my desktop. All right. Okay. Let's look at our next question here. Yeah. I think maybe this was the next question. Planning for the test. So this, can you guys read this? Is the text
We
legible?
have a Rohit over here. I'm not sure if that's the same Rohit in the session.
Okay.
Oh, good. Perfect.
Yes. So really important context. So we're gonna go into the planning phase now. The person Rohit says, "Hey, I got a key 49, bad IR score. Okay, um, and the doubts are how long." And this person's going to take the GCE, which is where you see it in the heading. Okay, how long should he prepare for IR? Okay, and it's about 14 hours. Apart from this, I'd like, would it take considerable time for solving more questions in the official IR pack? Um, my recommendation, so it's going to take about 25 hours, Rohit, simple. Okay. About 14 hours on the platform if you're done. Once you're done with quant and verbal, which I think you are from what I remember. Um, and should you attend DI webinars only if you have time? Okay. Um, your verbal, if I remember correctly, uh, is very good. Let me actually look at my notes for you. And okay, we're going to talk about test readiness in your case. I think that's a good way to explain test readiness um, in this case. Um, so let's look at Rohit's account to really see. I think, Rohit, is it okay if we share your account just to make sure that we show your stats and then move to test readiness over there? Okay, all right. Let's get your account. Rohit, this is planning. Oh, I had that over there. Okay, let me get a share pod. Okay, can you guys see Rohit's screen?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I can see you guys can. So let's just start with, and for me, when I'm looking at this, someone who's there, my take is always go to Scholaranium, look at hard accuracy stats, and for me, really good stats in CR and RC. Hard accuracy, last 20, last 10. If you are at 65, this is for me close to an 85th to a 90th percentile. This is a 95th percentile, and this was around that 70th percentile in SC. So SC definitely some room for improvement when I look at this in this case. Medium stats are fine, but I mean, for me, I look at hard stats, and for me, hard stats are what matter a lot. Let's look at quant as well. Let's look at quant Scholaranium again. Um, last 20. I see there is room for improvement, but this person already has a Q49 on the official. So I'm assuming that if they take a few more quizzes here, I don't see question attempts. We'll see that. But again, good ability. Q49 or very, very close to a Q50 overall in this particular case. Now, in terms of cementing, or in terms of test readiness, this is what you need to do. Hold on. Let me stop sharing and share once again. Okay, you guys should be seeing my Excel.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is GCE test readiness for you. The first thing which is really important, I mean, the whole principle of test readiness is that you perform at your ability levels in the mocks. Really, really important here. And this is where you build ability in cementing, and then you want to make sure that when you take a mock, which is where you're doing all of subsections in verbal, all of subsections in quant, one after the other, you're able to realize that same ability. Your goal is not to increase that ability. You increase your ability in Scholaranium, you express that ability in mocks. That's really important. And which means as you go from Scholaranium to mocks, you're not changing how the way you approach questions. You're not doing anything special, because when people do things in a really special way, that's when they mess up. That's when they underperform on mocks. Okay. So the first thing over here is that, for verbal overall, for every subsection, verbal, quant, and DI or IR in your case, you revise your notes, spend a day to revise your verbal notes, your quant notes, your IR notes, revise your error logs. Again, the whole point is you've been away from things. The last thing that you probably did is quant, you've been away from verbal. So before you even start taking mixed quizzes before taking an actual mock test, you need to make sure that you tell yourself the process of solving questions. You really look at a few questions that you solved incorrectly, 5 each in each of the subsections is what we look at. We replay all of these questions here. Again, the whole point is when you revise your error log, you really say, why did you make mistakes? What are you going to not do? What behaviors are you going to be worried about? And then you're going to apply that on questions that where you actually express the bad behaviors to tell yourself, this is how I'm going to make sure that I get to the right answer. It's not about getting to the right answer. It's about correcting that behavior. It's about telling yourself, this is how I'm going to get to the right answer. So it's about behavioral correction than anything else, because you're already done with cementing. You have the ability that you want to get there. That's something that's a prerequisite to this phase. Okay. Now, how do you ramp up verbal? Again, this is GCE. GFE would have a slightly different mix. You basically take 22 question quiz with this mix, medium and hard difficulty level, in relax. So give yourself more time. Why? Because you're doing this after some time. You want to make sure timing's not an issue for you. Okay, the goal is to get back into groove. Now, once you do this, you document your learnings. Really important. Build that error log, because certain behaviors will continue to show up. You want to know which behaviors are showing up here. Okay. Then repeat that process. Ideally, in each of these quizzes, because they're medium and hard, you should be between a 70% to 85% accuracy, depending on what your target is. If your target's closer to 710, 720, then it's closer to 70, 75%. If it's 740, 750, 760, then it's closer to 85%. Again, it's medium and hard mix, so half medium, half hard. Very similar stuff in quant. Again, this is one day, and if you don't hit that, understand the behaviors and always do differential analysis to really say, had I expressed these behaviors in these two questions, I would have hit my threshold. Again, it's about hitting that threshold that's important here. Okay, then focus just on quant. Okay, very similar process. Then essentially do a warm up for mock. So once you're done with quant and verbal, two quizzes each, more or less ready. Day 3 is your mock day, where you're going to take a warm up quiz, where you're taking 2 questions from each subsection. Again, these are already questions that you've solved, not new questions. This is purely for warm up, and you're spending no more than 30 minutes doing this, and then you take the mock. And essentially, whatever abilities that you saw in these quizzes, they should come up in that mock test. That's your process for test readiness. How it goes for GFE is very similar, and we'll share this Excel with you. It's just that you won't have SC over here in this case, and so the makeup of the quizzes is going to be slightly different. You'll have fewer questions accordingly, because on the GFE you don't have that many questions on the actual test. Okay. All right. Rohit, does that help you? Okay. Other people have questions about test readiness. That's the general principle for test readiness. There were some more points in my query about IR, which was there. IR, again, go through the IR course. You don't need to go through the DI course if you're taking the GCE. If you do find there are certain aspects of IR that are not as clear to you, if you want to go do a deep dive in MSR, if you want to do a deep dive in TPA, then that's something that's there. Maybe I missed that question, Rohit. Can you be very specific? But I might finish quant cementing by mid-December. So again, why would you take till mid-December to do quant cementing? You have a Q49. You could either be taking cementing quizzes, or you could be going through the course, and then the diagnostics automatically will tell you how you need to do. So if I were you, I mean, it's 24th of November right now, I would just go in and make sure I hit the cementing metrics, either by going through the course first and fixing those gaps. Because remember, Quant course is space enabled. So if you already know stuff, it won't make you do that. So you may be able to quickly go through the quant course, or go through the quant course relatively quickly in about 7 to 8 days. So again, if I were you, I'd be aggressive that way. Especially if you're devoting the entire day for prep. Dhruv, can you work with the do one thing, write to me, and Dhruv, can you work with Rohit here? Okay, yeah, write to Dhruv, and Dhruv can actually then create that timeline for you. Okay, but in my opinion, considering that you're studying full time, just write to support at e-GMAT, and Dhruv will respond. Okay, just mention, or you can write to me and say, hey, this is for Dhruv. It'll automatically get to him. Abha is here as well. Okay. Let's look at transition from GFE to GCE. Let me make sure I take a look at my notes. Okay. This one was that Chandan? Let me just make sure. I think I forgot this.
It says Senthur towards the end.
Senthor. Okay, Senthor. Yes, I have this. Yes, perfect. Thank you. I have the email address. Payal, do you want to take Anil's query while I get to?
So I have shared the test readiness templates here, PDFs, GCE and GFE, so you can download those. Actually, I was reading Anil's query and I kind of don't understand it. If I have GCE 750 as target,
What he's saying is, if I have a bad day. So let me just say this, guys. There's an upside to doing, Anil, what you're doing. Absolutely. But there are downsides to that too. If you aim for that 780, you're going to stress yourself on the very question level. Okay. And that A might elongate your preparation, and B, might actually reduce your score because you're spending so much time to get to that perfection that that you actually, it may lower your score. You may get to a 680, 690. A lot of people face this. If you're aiming for a 750, if you have metrics for it, first of all, remember 750 is at 98th percentile. You are in that zone where you're getting mostly everything right. Once you get to that 750 level, your improvement path is understanding why you make mistakes. Okay. If you build a consistent process, there's an 80 to 90% chance you're going to get to your ability level. Okay.
So I think to answer the question, what he's saying is due to time limit, if I target 750, will the process to target 780 later be much difficult? The answer is no. Even if you were to target 780, the stepping stone for that will be to first get to 750 and then to get to 780 because of the difficulty bands. So the answer is no. So he needs to first target 750 and then target 780.
Yes. And if it so happens that you're targeting 750 and you get a 720 just because you had a brain freeze on the test, and or your health didn't keep well, or there was a disturbance next to the test center, your metrics on the platform are still your metrics on the platform. They are not going to change. We will know you are a 750 person. Okay. Again, remember, Virat Kohli doesn't score a century in every test, in every match. Doesn't mean his ability is any lower. In the same way, when you're performing at the highest level, sometimes you may perform slightly lower, sometimes you may perform slightly higher, and that can happen.
Yeah. Don't judge yourself based on a single attempt. That's very important to make note of.
A lot of people judge themselves just purely on that end score, and I understand it's that end score that matter. But I can tell you, we have students who have wonderful metrics, sometimes mess up on the test, and we ask them, don't worry about it, we trust your metrics, go take a test in 15 days, which is when or 16 days, which is when you're allowed. And they end up scoring a 760. Then if they had the 760 metrics, they end up scoring a 760.
At the same time, there are students who ignore the metrics on the platform and who go by that one amazing attempt that they got on an official mock, and they say, okay, if I were able to hit that, I would be able to replicate that performance, and that's very deadly. Don't do that.
I'm sure some of these people are here. They bad metrics, but got a good score on one or two mock tests, official mock tests, and essentially they say, let me trust that mock test and not the metrics on the platform. When we say metrics, you're cementing metrics, you're scholarly metrics. For me, mock is, as I said, it's an expression of the ability that you have. The ability is in scholarinium. If your scholarinium metrics are good, we know you're going to do well on the mock. Your mock may be horrible. We know we can fix that. But if your mock is good, but your scholarinium metrics are horrible, we actually investigate. And for the very simple reason, how many questions do you get on a mock test in let's say in CR? On the verbal side, how many questions do you get on a mock test? About 10, right? 10 or 11. And it's so, it may happen that on an actual mock test, if you've seen 2 or 3 of those questions, then you may do really well on it. But in cementing, you do 30 medium, 30 hard, and in test readiness, you do another 20 questions each. If you've done really well on those 100 CR questions, if your stats are there, there's no reason why you won't do well on the mock. But 2 or 3 questions on a mock, by luck, can make a huge difference. So that's why we trust our call metrics way more. It's very difficult to fool those metrics. It's very easy to
Yeah.
fool a mock metrics.
And luck factor exists. That's why we
Luck
have built
factor exists.
technology to
Yes.
show you that. Yeah. Did you score that well because of the luck factor, or was it truly because of your ability?
Okay. So don't worry. Worry about your mock or your stats. Your mocks will come if your stats are there. We can fix that very easily. But if your stats are not there, that is where it's a slightly longer process.
Yeah,
In the same way,
slightly
when I
longer
see
path.
level, yeah, when I see level 1, really good A grades, and I don't see cementing, the first thing I do is go hit my head on the wall. It's like, why, God, why? If they've done so well, spent 40 hours there, why can't they spend 10 hours here? Okay, but then I also know that these people can do it.
Mhm.
All right. So this particular person, if I remember correctly, was pretty diligent.
Rajat, we have about 5 more minutes. So
I
how
want to do
many?
a couple. I'm going to do a few more things. So okay, let's. I think we have 2 more cases because we've already done test readiness here. So I'm going to share this person's diligence over here, screen. And mix panel, yes. Okay. Can you see this person's screen? Pal, can you see mix panel?
It's still loading. Not yet. Oh, it's taking longer. Rajat, you there? I think we may have lost him. Um, All right. So have you guys downloaded these test readiness templates? Good. All right. I'm going to take that away. Yeah, Rajat, you're back?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, let's look at this over here. And now I can hear my echo. Okay. Uh, Screen. Second monitor. Can you guys see the monitor here? Payal?
Rajat, it's still loading. Yeah, now I can. Now. Yeah.
So when I look at
Fine.
this particular individual, really good diligence, number properties, algebra, you can see, quant basics, word problems, advanced topics. So some overlap here, but more or less very, very good diligence in this particular individual's case. Okay. Let's go to his account, quant, number properties. Let's go to the journey view again. Again, good scores. A minus is good. B minus not so good. I wouldn't want B minus, but other than that, this is good here. And let's go look at cementing. No cementing done. So that's bad for me. In this case, and the person's, again, this is where you have diligence, but you kind of try and rush through things. You don't do cementing, and that's where you don't get the benefit of what you are supposed to do. Okay. So my inputs to this particular individual: complete cementing, create that study plan for GFE. This particular individual hasn't done that, and execute that study plan. Okay, that's really important. Build that study plan, execute that study plan over here. Okay, that's something that you have to do.
Rajat, can we take these questions here?
Yes.
Yash's question. Yeah.
So estimated duration on the course portal, I think, so when we look at the estimated duration, if you have a higher starting ability, then that's something upward of 70 percentile. That's where you're not supposed to do the entire course, and that's where
Yeah.
the course duration will tell you a lower thing. But then if your starting ability is low, then those estimates are perfect. I mean, you saw a couple of case studies there. People spend 28 30 hours on a course, which is kind of what's coded on the platform. Now when you look at the study plan for GFE, it tells you which stage of learning you should start from. Okay, so that's something which is there in the GFE piece. We exactly tell you if you don't need to start from stage 1 of learning, that's something that's already incorporated in there. So if you build that GFE study plan, you would get that. Okay,
But Rajat,
now
in terms of
remember,
the, so I think, so what
a
Yash
second,
is saying,
just 1 second, Pam.
yeah.
Remember, the study plans are built around the input ability that you put in this case. If that ability is not right, if you need to go through the entire course, that study plan will need to be revised. Those timings will need to be revised in that case.
Mhm. Right.
Okay.
But I think his question is more along the lines of individual activity where we give recommended time. Is that right, Yash?
Okay,
Yeah.
that should
Yeah.
not happen.
That should not happen. And again, the way we have come up with those time estimates is again based on how much time students actually take. So it is not really based on the length of the videos. It is really based on the actual data that students
Yeah.
have
So just
have.
to be more precise on this, what we look at is we look at an activity, we wait for about 200 attempts before we get the first estimate, and we look at the 75th percentile time. So 75% of the students take less than that time. That's the time,
Yeah.
activity time, that's put in over there. Okay, now
Yeah.
25% of students will still take longer, but that's, I mean, we didn't want to take the median time, we wanted to take the
Mhm.
75th percentile time overall. And yes, some students will take longer, those who have a very low ability, but for most students, they shouldn't. Now, can we make that slightly more adaptive depending on your starting ability? Probably we can, and get a bit more granular. But building tech for any such thing is takes effort. And that's where it's incremental. I mean, most prep companies won't even give you a study plan. They don't even build adaptive courses. And this is where as we do this, we get feedback. We kind of build the next set of tech over there, and
Yeah.
that feedback's valuable to us.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sudhir, this one was Sudhir, right?
Which one,
Yeah,
Rajat?
no, Centur. Centur, hopefully you get your answer. Okay. Now this is our last question here. Okay, and then Shubham will take your question. But let's take
Rajat,
this
there's
last one.
one more question, Rajat. Yeah,
Yeah.
GMAT confused. It's
Yeah,
because that's a
let's
very
take it
personal.
towards the end. Let's take it
Okay.
towards the end. Okay. Okay. So, by the way, this particular individual, Senthur, started at a very low score, if I remember. It started at a 430 or so on the platform. So, the thing that I want to really tell you is if a stage one attempts can be so good despite such low starting ability, then each one of you can get those stage one attempts. Okay. So, this is. Who was that? Roma. That's Roma's account here. That's Roma. This was yours, if memory serves me right. This is your question, right? Okay. That's you. Okay. This one's your question. This one's Roma's question, I think. Yeah. Okay. So this question is, when should you take mocks? I scored a 560 on my last attempt. Before this attempt, I tried 5 different mocks from 5 different companies. I scored a 670 to 680, which was fine by me. When should I take mocks in your preparation? What things should I focus on while evaluating mocks? Okay. And what's the right time for me to book a slot for the GMAT? Now, again, remember, we talked about this earlier. The goal of a mock test is to make sure that you express your ability, which is there in SCOL, in the mock test. That's it. You're not trying to go beyond that. But you're not trying to go below that as well. Okay. So when you take a mock test, ask yourself this question. There are 3 questions here. Did you perform as per your ability in this case? Okay. Did you make good decisions? Which means that, did you get stuck on a certain question for a very long time? Did you, and because of which it impacted your overall mock score? Or when you got a question that was beyond your ability level, you kind of made a good decision within a minute and 10 seconds and move forward. Okay. Did you continue your focus on questions even when you knew you made a mistake in the prior question? Because remember this, everyone, we're going to look at Roma's account next, and Roma has an incredibly high ability in verbal. Okay, but even she will make some mistakes on a mock, because a mock is supposed to do that. You're not going to get every question right, and that's kind of the piece that you build in test readiness. That's the piece that you have to tell yourself taking mocks. If you get a question that you can't get head or tail of, then that's good. The test has figured out your ability, and that's okay, because you already know which ability or which score are you aiming for. Okay. The next piece with every mock you have to answer is, what are the next 2 areas that I'm aiming for? Hopefully, these are areas where you perform below your ability. These are areas where you need to address your behaviors. Okay. So again, when should you take a mock? Go through stage 1, go through cementing, go through test readiness for every section. So stage 1 is at a subsection level, SCCR, number properties, algebra. Stage 2 is also at a subsection level. Okay. And then test readiness is at a section. So you verbal, quant, DI, or IR for that matter. And then mock is, everything's together. Now, in terms of the metrics, pal, this is a good time to answer the question. With so many metrics on the platform, which one should we worry about? When you're doing stage one, the stage one metrics matter to you. How are you doing in each learning level? That's what matters. Once you go from stage one to stage two, just the cementing metrics matter to you. And then how you did in each learning level. Okay. You're not worried about and cementing metrics in that subsection. Now, from here, as you go from one subsection to the other subsections metrics, they don't matter to you at all. Okay. If you go from SC to CR, SC doesn't matter to you. CR is a fresh subsection. Okay. Once you're done with cementing, your stage one metrics don't matter as such. Let's say you're done with cementing with all of this. What matters is what are your cementing metrics? Why? Because they are the ones that translate into test readiness metrics. You want to make sure you take them forward. Okay. And once you have those test readiness metrics, then they are the metrics that you want to replicate in your mock. So it's all essentially, depends on which stage you are in. And that's how we look at your accounts as well. The moment when someone writes to us, the first thing that we look at is this call and whether they've done cementing, what are their metrics over there. If they pass cementing, we know they have the ability. We need really kind of really see how do we ensure that they express that ability over there on mocks, and then of course on the GMAT. If they fail cementing, then we go into stage one.
For us, everything starts with cementing.
Yes. Okay, let's kind of go forward. Let's go to so Nits, does that help? Nitashu, does that help answer your question? Again, if your metrics are right, don't do anything different on the test. You are going to do just fine. Remember, mocks are just 5 data points. In SCOL, you have close to 20 assessments there. Okay. Let's look at her account. And again, I'm going to actually maximize this so you guys can read this. Roma's test is very soon. Okay. And what she's saying is that hey, I am worried that even though my timing's fine, I'm constantly aware of the clock pile. If we can highlight that over here, let's kind of focus here. I perform best when I'm calm, but as I'm getting closer to the exam date, it's getting tougher to keep calm. I understand that feeling, absolutely. I know that I won't score more than the ability would allow me to. I just aim to perform at my best. Okay. Again, Roma.
That's a very mature statement, I would say.
It's a very, very mature statement. First of all, congratulations. And that maturity shows up in your course stats. Okay. Absolutely shows up. And for everyone, I want to show her course stats. And let's hope my screen doesn't freeze again. Otherwise, Payal, you'll have to show her course stats. In the loop component, we have her email ID. If you have to get to it. Okay.
You're sharing the loop component. Okay.
Okay. So as I said, everything starts with Scholranium for us. And when I look at this, not a whole lot of questions, but look at the last 20. These are phenomenal starts. And she says, my RC, I'm very confident with. Okay. These are really, really good stats. So I would like to see a few more attempts here, but good stats, excellent stats overall. Quant Scholranium, let's look at last 20, again, hard. And very good stats for everywhere. I mean, this is clearly between a Q49, Q50, barring the advanced topics, of course. But good stats, I'd like to really see the advanced topics piece come over here, but then I'd put it at a Q49, Q50 in this case. And so I think for me, this is extremely good. And her core stats are equally good. Okay. Now, The only way you're going to be able to realize this on the mock is if you focus on the actual attempt, and on the mock, you have the actual attempt in about 5 days, is if you continue focusing on the question itself. And as you continue focusing on question itself, you shouldn't go back in timing. So the first thing that I want you to have is, have a timing grid to really say, uh, I'm going to, at this point, I'm going to be at this question. Now, if it so happens that you're within 2 minutes of that timing grid, you're fine. Okay. If it so happens that you're beyond 2 minutes, so let's say at question number 10, you should have 45 minutes left, but you have 40 minutes left. And at that point, if I were you, I would look for the next question where which I'm not as sure about, and I would randomly mark this. The principle here is that that essentially, if you have less time, and this is something that we actually look at students do. I was talking to a student, it was about 8 days back, Pile, that you were talking to this particular student,
Mhm.
where this person had 8 questions left, he
Oh,
had
yeah.
10 minutes left, and he tried to rush through every question.
Mhm.
you know can anyone guess how many questions did he get right in that process? One question. Okay. Now, this person's accuracy prior to that was about 75%.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, had this person said, I'm going to randomly mark 4 and make sure that I'm going to spend the remaining 9 minutes, because even to randomly mark 4, you're going to take about a minute. But then on the other 4, I'm going to focus my full attention. He would have gotten 3 out of those 4 correct. And hopefully, if luck were on his side, out of the 4 random ones, he would have gotten 1 correct. So 4 out of 8 versus 1 out of 8. Okay.
Mhm.
So first thing, don't get behind. Don't let yourself be that behind that you have 10 and 8. 10 minutes, 8 questions. Okay. If you have more than 2 questions behind, randomly mark a question. Um, Especially if you have this ability, you have these stats, so you'd be doing well. Your best chance to succeed is to focus on the question on hand and not worry about it. Number one. Number two, there will be some questions, even for someone at this high an ability level, that you would not be able to understand, and that's good.
Mhm.
Okay.
Don't predict how you are doing based on the questions that you're getting. That's another very important thing. People who are at that high ability, at times they, because they're able to handle hard questions comfortably, they feel that the questions are getting easier. But in fact, it's their ability to answer those questions which is really good, which is why they don't feel that kind of stress on them, and they feel that maybe they are not performing well because there's a lot at stake. So don't gauge the difficulty level of the question based on how you are
Yes.
experiencing that question. That's very important.
That's a really great point. Yes. I can tell you this, Pyle and I have made a ton of questions. And when we make questions, we kind of really say, okay, this is going to be, hard. This is going to be medium. We kind of predict an accuracy for that question. This is someone, Pyle and I have both made at least 1,000 questions on the GMAT, if not more. Okay. There's no other expert out there who's made more questions. And I can tell you we're wrong 30% of the time,
Mm.
which is why when we make questions before it goes on the platform, it's evaluated on the platform for about 30 days.
Mhm.
So don't try and judge a question by how long you take. Okay, just as I said, you have your ability, go express it. That's your best take.
So Rajat, we are 15 minutes over now. So
Hmm.
should we just take the last couple of questions from the chat?
Yes. Yes.
I think we should address this last question, Roma's question.
Your plan is to essentially take a couple of custom quizzes, yes, and a mock test, and then revise, do corrective action. That's absolutely right. Don't take a ton of
I would
mock
say
tests.
the same test readiness plan would work, right?
Yeah, you could take the same test readiness plan would work,
Yeah.
Roma. And again, if you have questions, write to us. One of our strategy experts will respond.
Okay. And what's your question on the on revision, Gagan? Revision question mark. What does that mean?
When do you want to revise? All the best, Roma. We hope to see you in the next Friday session to share your experience of the test with us.
Yes, that'll be nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So when should you revise? I think you have a cementing plan pile. I don't know if you've uploaded that one that we did in the last session. Um, so how to revise the previous section after clearing cementing with the required scores? All right, good question. So again, start with the test readiness plan does that, where you revise your notes. Please make notes. Revise your mistakes or replay quizzes with mistakes. Okay, and uh, that's essentially what you do. If you do feel that there are certain areas that you feel rusty with, go back to the course, take the application files again, or the practice files after application files. And that's a very personal feel. If you made notes, and not a ton of notes but good notes, and that's why making notes is a bit more personal, then that's all that you would need. How do we play with OG questions in between? uh, Uh, After cementing, I would so I don't recommend that people attempt medium. If you go through our cementing process, you're done with it. Focus on doing hard questions in OG, which means the last one third. That's probably the only set of valuable questions that I have for you.
So I've added the cementing plan here, Rajat, from last week.
Perfect.
On the
Thank you
same
so
test.
much.
Yeah.
Yes. You can also add the link to Payal, the recording of the previous session. You can add links over there.
Where is it in Loom?
It's
Oh,
your Loom.
yes. It's my Loom.
Okay. OG questions in quant especially are easier than the actual test. It's slightly easier, Roma, but then that's where your call starts are there, which are slightly more challenging. So you balance it out.
So Rajat,
Yeah.
there's one Shubham's question.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes, Shubham,
yeah, yeah.
650, 690, 710, 730 are 3 out of 4 Q50s, but 731 somehow got a Q47. Is it worth trying for better?
I
Uh,
think what's your answer right now? No, I think based on all you have heard in this session today,
yes.
how would you answer this question, or how would somebody else answer this question?
Yeah.
Unless Rajat, you feel that they are not equipped to answer it.
No, they are.
Yeah.
And I can enable mic for someone else too, if they want to just raise their hand.
I think they can just type Rajat right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Just because we are already 20 minutes over.
Yes. Hmm. So let others respond, and then I'm going to really put in place.
Yeah.
I'm going to answer Gagan's question. My cementing score is 7. Should I just do hard questions now while Absolutely, yeah. Just do official hard questions. And again, if you want to just get in the group, do 4 or 5 medium questions and then do hard. But the value is going to be in hard. So yeah, your mentor is here, Shubham. Payal is going to get the cementing session. Okay, let me just go back to Gagan's question. No, it was Shubham's question. I'm sorry, Shubham. So Shubham, I would go from a 730 to a 760. My personal would be because I want that 760 because I want that scholarship. Okay, if you're applying to a USB school, absolutely, I would do it. But I would really put in all the effort because that 760 for me is $60,000-$70,000 worth of scholarship, and also doubling my chances of admission. That's kind of the two pieces there. So, Shubham, does that answer your question? I mean, for me, it's purely ROI. Yes, Kagan, that's what it is. A lot of it is. It's not rocket science. The GMAT's not rocket science. It's about building that methodical way of learning, following the metrics, because frankly, that's what running a business is as well. Do B schools provide scholarships to R3? Absolutely. They still have money. It's not as much money, but then remember this, in R3, you also don't have as many good students there. So yes, you're competing for a depleted pot, but then also there are fewer people who are competing. So I've seen people get scholarships in round 3. And in fact, there are lots and lots of people who are waitlisted. So the reason why they're waitlisted is schools want to see R3 applicants before they really say, do I want to take a waitlisted guy or do I want to take an R3 person? Can we interact with strategy experts over call if we write to e-GMAT? I mean, such sessions are designed for that. I'm going to remove the PDF, the presentation, so that you can put the web links here. Yes, are designed for that. But yes, I mean, if you Rida, Rashmi, Abha, Dhruv, they all will create a Loom video, and I'm sure many of you have gotten such Loom videos for them if need be. And yes, if need be, we'll get on a call. But more often than not, that doesn't really happen. Okay. All right. With that, thank you very much, and yeah, good luck, and please let us know how you do on the GMAT. Keep your questions coming. Keep putting in the hard work. Keep following the process. That's really important. Okay, please.
Anybody
Please.
here who has done DI course? I asked in the previous session also.
Anyone who's done the DI course?
Yes, Nikhil, we will send you the recording of this shortly. Yeah.
Folks who have attempted the DI course. I know, Roma, you're taking the GCE, so you wouldn't have. Going to attempt, all right.
Okay.
Rohit, the link to the session is going to remain the same. So this is a persistent room for that.
Yes.
So more,
The time is also going to remain the same. Yeah.
Yeah, the time's also going to remain the same, and then you're going to get notifications within the portal itself. Some schools, Shah Jamal are not taking. So I think, from what I know, Harvard and Wharton are not in R2, but everyone else is. So yeah.
No, I think his question is, will there be any bias against GFE?
There won't be. I mean,
Wouldn't be.
I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
frankly, let me, and I've expressed this opinion before. If a school can't do a simple translation, then they don't deserve $150,000 from you. Let me be very clear. I mean, these are people who actually are able to evaluate transcripts from ton of countries, right? Within India, they can differentiate an 8.0 at an IIT versus a 10.0 or at a tier 2, tier 3 college. Frankly, if they can't just do a simple translation when they've been given a lookup table,
Yeah, when they've been prepared for so long,
when they've been
since
prepared
such a
for
long
months,
time, yeah, almost a
if
year.
they can't come up with that bias, then they're not going to build a new curriculum for you anyway.
Yeah.
So if you trust them to evaluate your candidacy, then you should trust them to do this.
Yeah.
Regardless of what people say. Again, that's the school's job here. You've got to really trust that they're going to do that. But if they can't do this, then what kind of education are they going to impart?
But I understand where they are coming with that with this question, Rajat. It's just there's so much of noise
There is
in
so much
the
noise out
community.
there.
Don't trust the percentiles. Percentiles are going to change. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. So don't worry about that. Trust the system, trust the GMAT. It's a beautiful test. Both GCE and GFE are beautiful tests. They truly test your ability of how well you will perform on during your MBA and post MBA. I mean, preparing for this test truly prepares you with life skills if you do it the right way.
And you guys would have seen it, right? If you've done well in CR, if you've done well in RC, you would have used those strategies to win more arguments.
Mhm.
If you've done well in SC, you would have expressed yourself better. That's already happening with you guys. So
And you guys are in a very good place, I would say, because you have a choice to make GCE versus GFE. So yeah, I mean, just choose the test that you feel more comfortable with. Good, that's very nice, Ekta. You're liking GMAT prep for this reason, yes.
okay. All right. Thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure interacting with you. You should have the recording in a couple of hours on the platform. Okay. Thank you. And we'll see you in the next session. And please, please, please continue writing to us, continue putting in the good work,
Yeah.
continue following the steps.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good luck.
And
See you next week. Mhm.
see you next week.